I remember, I think talking with you, and I think our first show, I don't think was with Rob. Our first show at Ruthie's, I think.
Well, I remember.
And Jerry sang. Jerry sang.
I sang.
That was Rock on Broadway.
Right, and when he quit, you didn't have the singer yet.
Right.
That was in.
But I think our first show was that, and I remember us
was
at
it a Legacy
Troy's
show?
house. Yeah, and so this might have been second or third Legacy show, right? And it's packed, and so I remember at Troy's house, you're like, look, you and I were talking, you're like, look, Perry, all you got to do is get 6 songs together. Because I'm thinking in my head, as a young, dumb kid, like, I'm going to have an elaborate set, and there's going to have to be 12 songs. And you're like, no, you're opening, dummy. You only got to play for 25, 30 minutes.
Legacy's first show was with Slayer and not one of our first ones. I get a call the night before from Willie Lang. Slayer and Loz Rocket at the Stone. Right. And Legacy has 4 songs.
$5.
I know. But but we have 4 songs, right? And so Willie calls me up and he goes, Zetro, how big's your balls? Well, don't kill the apple. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, Zetro, how big are your balls? I go, bigger than ever. He goes, well, the opener dropped out. We need an opener tomorrow night. I go, Willie, we have 4 songs. He goes, play the shit out of those 4 songs. And that was how it went. Yeah. We didn't have stuff, and you figured, oh no, I need to have a guitar solo and a drum solo. Right. Wait a minute, I got to make a full show and a pyro and what's all that. And you didn't have to have that. No. You had to have 5 or 6 songs.
And you were like, hey, you guys got 6 songs? Like, we got 6 songs. You're like, you're in. So then so we played that first show with you, with Legacy, and it was packed. And so like you couldn't have broke into the scene any better than that. I mean, you just couldn't have, because, our first Ruthie show was with you guys. We're all high school friends that are on this incredible beginning of this journey, right? And it sold out. And I will always flash back to Cheech and Chong, the Battle of the Bands, right? It's complete nonsense, but at the end, everybody's hugging, and it's like, we won Battle of the Bands, man. We're on our way. And it felt like that. Right.
It was maniacal building up to it.
And it was
the
that.
Crescendo was just like.
And then I can still remember the next day just waking up, in my front room, because I have my own apartment. Everybody else lived at home, but I always had my own place. And Steph would always make me cut potatoes up, because we were broke, like all of us, 20 years old with your own apartment or whatever. And so my Sunday morning was waking up hungover as hell to watch WWF wrestling, and Steph would make me fried potatoes and a little bit of bacon, and that was it. I'd have a massive plate, and I can remember that day of just being one of many. I'm a blessed individual as it is, so I have so many great days, but that one is clear. That Sunday is so clear, and the feeling of that night, left over, is just so always just there. Like, it's all the colors are bright, the sound is there. I can still smell crappy beer all filled up in the, the bathroom was just, everything in all of it was awesome. Because it couldn't have gotten any better than that.
Yeah.
You want to talk about lighting a fire.
Fresh. It was like, oh my God, we can really fucking do this. You know what I mean?
I think more than that, it was just like, you get past all the stigmas of what you think it's going to be. You get down to what it really is. And it was the most fun. It was so much more fun than you could have even imagined, And, yeah, for us at Dublin, I'll speak just for myself. Kind of we're always like an outcast, but a cool outcast, right? Like, people like, I don't want my mom to know we're friends. Right. I want everybody at school to know we're friends. Right, let's go smoke a joint in the parking lot, right? And that was kind of what that was at. It was like, if you were never the quarterback on the football team, that's probably what that felt like, to be the star quarterback
did,
on a
because-
football team, you know, and you're like, boy, that's a good feeling.
I remember like one of the first, I think it was the first headlining show with Legacy. It was Legacy and Death Angel and I think Blind Illusion. And it was at the Mabuhay, the Fab Mab, the famous Mabuhay. And it was like on a Friday night and there was about 300 people there. And I was like, I'm looking at the crowd going, wow. I've arrived.
Yeah, right.
I have arrived.
And what's Ruthie's? 200?
No. Ruthie was probably. If you could get 500 into
Wow.
Ruthie's. Yeah, you could, and it'd be like fucking.
I remember
Sardinias.
those. But I remember it was small. But
I think 295 capacity, but they pushed it. You think West didn't push it? Come
Oh,
on,
yeah.
Money's green, bro.
Yeah.
So that's kind of. It's I know like the feeling of the feeling. Wow. How cool was that? People were raging and they loved it.
Well,
and it was in the crowd.
right. But I think at that age too, you're not distinguishing, and I reflect on this a lot. You know, especially as a young person, going to shows and whatnot. You didn't distinguish a band that sold 30,000 records to a band that sold 1 million. If
No.
you liked them, there was no distinction there.
No.
They were just you did a record. You're a rock star.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and that's how, when I saw Raven at the Stone, there was no difference in my mind
From them
as
or,
far to seeing Iron Maiden at the Cow Palace.
Right. It's a rock
You know,
star.
I mean-
they're up there doing that thing.
Right.
I agree.
You know, and
with
that, I think that was the cool part, you know.
there was no separation there,
Right, you
basically.
didn't-
Yeah, they were, to me,
Yeah.
you're all in the same fucking fraternity. It
Lucky
didn't care.
ass fuckers.
Damn right. Exactly. Look at it.
And I want some of that. How do I get it?
So now, it's probably around 86 or 87. Are you shopping yourself? Because the first actual Violence record did not come out till 89. So,
88, I think, right?
Was it? I thought it was 89. I'm wrong.
No, I might be wrong.
Maybe
too.
I'm wrong. But and you signed with Mechanics. But was it? It seemed like a lot of time.
Yeah.
In between there.
Yeah.
For especially bands at that time, because you're putting out a record every
Violence
week.
never did anything legally smooth. I mean, it just never was
It
smooth.
just never happened smoothly.
It never. I mean, there's so many people. Oh yeah, I got 5 records in 4 years. It's like, that's great. We did 1.
Right.
You know, and we tried to
Right.
do 2, but then they shelved it, or we had a legal problem, and it's like,
Right.
you know, I mean,
Well, Exodus had that a little bit after Bonded by Blood. I mean, we didn't put out Pleasures until 87. Bonded came out in May of 85. Pleasures came out in
that's
September
because
of
you
87.
guys wanted it.
You know what I mean?
Bump it up.
Plus they were stuck in a deal with Torrid Records, who wouldn't release, didn't want to do a second record, but they still had It was just a big litigation. And 2 years at that time was a lot of years. We're only 21 or 22 years
Right.
old. 2 years is a lot. I mean,
Right.
fuck, it's forever. What's going on here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it seemed like that. So, was it frustrating at that point, or was it just seem like par for the course?
You know, I was working, so I just went to work, and, you know, a year went by. You know, we smoked so much pot. Like, we just practiced and kept writing.
Still smoke.
Not me, but yeah. And, you know, I don't remember it. You know, I remember you always want it to go faster. You always read it. You know, it's like, when's the money start rolling in? I signed a contract, damn it. When do I get my Lamborghini?
Right. I know.
And it's like, I'm
Wow.
sorry, son.
Guess what?
You get a Yugo.
And it doesn't work like that. Do you know everybody else around you? They get rich. You don't.
No.
So if you end up rich, everybody else around you gets super rich.
Right.
That's how that works.
There's a reason
literally.
your lawyer's driving a Mercedes, and
Right,
you're not,
and you're not.
you know.
So there,
You're paying his bill.
exactly. And everything that you get, your advances, your tour supports, your videos, you pay all of that back, all of it.
Out of your percentage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so-
oh yeah. You pay it back. So
$10 a unit, you get $1.
yeah.
You pay all that money back
that's
out of
damn
your
right.
dollar.
damn right you do.
Ballparking,
You
of
rich
course.
rock star.
But,
You
know. Yeah, I mean, I always made way more money just coming home and working.
right.
It was just easy to do. So
Now, we're going to talk about something now. In 89,
Yeah.
April of 89, we stole you for a minute.
Yeah.
We stole you for a minute, and basically, we were about ready to embark on MTV Headbangers Ball Tour, which we did.
Which I was watching the commercials at home long before you called me, and I remember thinking,
I know,
that is the most awesome thing
that
ever,
could ever
man.
happen.
And I remember telling my friends, "Oh my God, that's Steve, man! Oh my God, I can't believe it, man! That's our boy!"
Every half an hour they were running.
You would think I was in the Exodus. I was like, "No, that's our boy."
Yeah,
Steve,
I know.
Man,
So we had actually played about 3 shows, and Tom was going through some health issues on that tour, and he wasn't sure that he was going to be able to finish it. And so we were like, wow, we can't afford this at this point. We are on the biggest tour of our lives. It's the highest.
And what'd you have,
thing
48 hours? Something like that?
Yes, 48
I think it was
hours.
Something like that, 48 hours. And
So
like,
we called Phil first because out of respect to Filthy, we said, we're not going to. And Phil's like, Zet, do me a favor. Don't steal my drummer. And we're not. We just need to borrow him. So then we called Perry up.
And see, that's how we talk, though. See, Violence is my band. When you talk to Phil, Violence is his band.
Right.
That's just how we talk. Right. Don't steal my drummer. Right. They're like, don't steal my guitar.
We're not going to do that. But we need to, and so we called you up. And I believe it was only 7 or 9 songs because it was an opening and middle slot, and we were in the headliner. It
you
was
had
only
9. I did 7.
Yes, that's right. You did 7, and that was cool with it. And we called you up. I remember you listening to the songs.
No, I remember you like, do you know the songs, Perry? And I'm like, yes, I know all your songs, man. You're like, can you be down here? I'm like, yes, I'll be right there. I can't wait, And I remember hanging up the phone and going, holy shit, what did I just do? Because all of our balls back then were. It's like I talked a lot of smack, and it was like I was always willing to just step up.
If you can get me on that fucking, I can do it. Yeah. I can do it. So that was the mentality.
And then I spent the next hour and a half trying to convince myself that, you could do it.
Well, the thing was, I always took it for granted because it's my band. I'm like, oh, everybody knows Exodus. He's got to know these songs.
Knowing the songs and playing them are two different things.
Well, that's my thing. Yeah. Since the record came out, he's probably heard these songs. I mean, he's got to know them. But I don't. As a singer, I'm singing along with the words like everybody does in the car, not having to play them. So I remember the first gig we did. Was it San Antonio? Where was the first one?
Yeah, it was somewhere in Texas. Yeah.
And it was like 4... Because we missed one gig on the tour.
And that was it. That's all you had.
Anthrax's manager said, check it out. You get one fucking show, grace. You ain't on a second one, we'll get Metal Church or somebody else out here. You know what I mean? So we had the one.
You all told me that as if I didn't have enough pressure.
We rehearsed with you in Texas at a studio in Texas. And
so let's talk about that.
Okay.
So I think Joey Houston and Joey had all the albums, and I had a tape deck. So he had all the albums. So I remember us getting together and making a set. This was back when you had a Walkman. So I had a TDK, right? A TDA, a 120 TDK, where I had duplicated the set over and over with my Walkman, and I didn't take the headphones off for probably 20 hours. And I didn't play any of the songs. Back then I lived in an apartment. I didn't have the time to sit down on a drum set. I just had to learn them on the headphones, and that was it. And showing up, and you guys were like, "Oh my God, you guys are here finally! I've saved our ass. All right, whatever." We're all high fives and all that. And so we go to that little bar or wherever it was where we had a room to practice it. Yes. And I remember Gary walking up, and he's just like, "Okay. So this song starts off like this." I'm like, "Oh, hell no, Gary. We ain't going to get nowhere like that." I'm like, "Dude, let's just go." I clicked it off. And I think magically, somehow, all the planets aligned and clicked off 7 songs. And I remember Gary and Rick You and I high-fiving. Them guys put their guitar down. We all left. We went to the bar, and it was happy hour. And it's all good times. And we're drinking. We're doing stuff we shouldn't be doing.
Oh, God.
and here I am on this. I'm on a high already, but now I'm trying to cut back, but I got a good buzz going on, and I'm thinking, and we walk out, and it starts to hit me like, oh, shit, I hope I'm all right, and Gary's like, no, you got it. And I was like, okay, cool. And then when we got to the gig, it was like 8,000 people that night. And I remember, was it Tommy, the drum tech? Todd, yeah.
Sorry.
I remember where the drums were, I had to come up through an elevator, like a little lift underneath Charlie's drum set, right? So you walked under the stage, I sat on a lift, and it brought us up to the drum set. That's when my mind officially just got blown. Right, I'm like, whoa, I'm backstage. Here we are, and now all of a sudden, it's showtime, and the nerves were so incredibly intense that it just shut off. It's like your body almost goes into shock, where it just systematically pushes all the nonsense aside. And I come up, and people have their lighters out, and you can just see lighters. Yeah, you can just see everything, And I remember, like at that point, like every little kid fantasy you ever had come true.
Yeah, and the thing was, and I remember that show as it was 4 conductors and 1 drummer, because we were all walking up like to the back of the drum riser and going like this.
Well, right, because we didn't have a monitor check, right?
Well,
so I've got spaceship sounds.
Plus, you've never fucking played with us before ever, but that was, it was packed
and
every night.
And the intro for Cajun Hell,
exactly.
comes on, and you're just like, we didn't work any of that out at practice,
That wasn't
and
part of the song.
Gary just like, it's just going to come on here and count to here. You're going to do this. Here you go, and that's how that works.
Mr. Holt's the worst at giving instruction when it comes like that. But that's kind of
worked. It
worked killer. It was so much fun, and
I think walking off, the first shock. I think I was in tears, because I couldn't believe it. And you guys like, are you all right? I'm like, I'm better than all right.
Yeah, that was fun. We had fun on that fucking. We had a lot of fun.
And I think
decadent.
Yeah, and Anthrax recorded a live album that night. That's when I met Alex Perielis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he was mixing it. So I got to go. I needed a second to chill out. And so he brought me into the semi, because they had a big semi trailer with all that stuff.
Right, yeah, that's how they did that mobile unit.
And that's how I met him. And that's how I wanted to work with him for Oppressing the Masses, right? One, he did everything under the sun at that time, right? Everybody who was somebody.
And Megaforce stuff especially. He did everything Megaforce. He did Anthrax, he did Testament. He did Overkill, you know what I mean?
Right.
King's X.
And so I wanted to work. And that was how I got introduced to that. And I got introduced to Alex. And
but he didn't do the first record, did he, Perry?
No, John Kunenberg did.
John Kunenberg did the first.
Yeah.
And
did a great job.
Now, how long after the Headbangers Ball tour did you guys actually release that record or go in the studio? Because it was the same year.
Yeah, it was right out. Because we, my
in
playing
fact,
with.
I think, didn't you guys actually start recording it as that ended? That was April, May of '89. April, May of '89 is when we did Headbangers Ball. And then because the album
now, see,
came out.
Violence was supposed to get the European deal, the European tour, part of that. That was part of that. That didn't happen. It went to Forbidden, which I was very upset about. But I got over it.
He's crying.
I was like that little kid, like kicking the rock, like, man, it's all right.
But that wasn't with us. The Forbidden didn't go to Europe with us. I don't know. No, not with Exodus. No, we went. We had already done Europe for
No, because you went right after we did the U.S. You went with Johnny.
We went with Forbidden in the States. Not in.
Okay, maybe that's.
Did you have a record out at that time? I don't think.
No, they wanted us to do Oppressing the Masses.
But the reason that Forbidden got it was because
we had
both
to go
on
in.
Combat.
Yeah.
And they were
And
done.
they
with
wanted us to
Forbidden Evil
record.
done
That was
already.
it.
Right.
They were
right.
like, yeah, you could do this, could be it, but we want you and
Right.
that. And so that's,
Yeah, we did that because we after
at that point, you do what you're told.
well, yeah,
It keeps the money going.
they're footing the money. That's the
Right,
point.
right.
They're footing it. So for us at that time, we actually did Europe. We did the Headbangers Ball. Then we did a headlining thing with Forbidden. And basically back in
Right.
those days, you didn't go to Japan. You didn't go to South America. There wasn't a market for it yet. That was basically the end of the tour cycle. Go write a new
Right.
record. We ended that and went and started writing Impact is Imminent
Right.
for us. But you guys put out Eternal Nightmare. What touring did you do for that, Perry? Do you remember?
Just the States. So we did Testament Voivod. I think Voivod ended up canceling. So it was like us, Testament, Excel, Sanctuary would come on, part of that. And then we went back out with Voivod like in December and supported that record. Could never get us over to Europe, which was a big bummer.
But it was a big thing even then. It wasn't like it is now. Like you jump over there and there's 100 festivals and
Right.
somebody will pick up your visas for you. And that because it wasn't that. You had
No.
to buy them yourself. You had to go. I mean,
It
was
costs a lot of
It
money.
was so expensive to go to Europe
Yeah.
in the 80s. It was the dollar was such a difference from the euro or the whatever it was because there was no euro money then. It was a Deutschmark or a lira
Right,
or
right.
a guilder. Or
You're walking around with funny money in your
or
damn
a
pocket.
franc or whatever, you know. I mean, the money was all different over there. So trying to do a budget for a European tour, you know, Danish kroners.
That's where
you know,
a
so we had
lot
people
of
were like,
people,
"Ah!"
a lot of people in the industry, especially at that time, a lot of bands really owe so much to Debbie Obono because I think Debbie just gave the record label that happy, fuzzy feeling that we're not sending four morons. You are sending 4 or 5 morons out on a bus,
just not
but
complete
mom's
morons.
with them. Mom's
Right,
with
mom's
them,
got
right?
moms.
Mom will keep
Just
them in
keep
check.
them in line.
They'll be
Yeah,
all
that's
right,
right.
you know. And I think that helped so many of us because otherwise,
Yes.
I'm
Everybody who's come in that has
Yeah.
had any dealings with her have brought her up and
yeah.
like yourself.
I mean,
and
I would butt heads with Debbie, and
I know you did.
but-
I know you
but-
did.
But the only
did.
thing is because it
That's
was
how you
being
were.
on
That's
tour-
how you are, Perry. That's
If I
how
didn't
you
get my
are.
way.
That's how you
Yeah,
are. I
yeah.
know.
But
I love it.
I never had anything but love for that woman. I mean, I
anybody
owe
does.
so much to her.
I know that.
And,
I know that.
She's still. I hear her voice. So many things that she
can
would
still- I can
say
see her face
to
in my
me
mind right
about
now.
kids. You know, oh, trust me, Perry, you're gonna get it back in spades. And
Yeah.
I could hear, and I was like, she was right.
She's right. Oh yeah, very wise.
You
Very
know,
wise woman.
I've been lucky to where neither one of my kids or my boys who are young men now, they're not kids, but
Yeah.
thank
They're
God
young men.
none of them grew up to be anything like me.
Like us.
Yeah, nothing
Like
like
these-
me.
I
And I'm
don't-
proud
mine
of that.
didn't either.
I'm so
My
proud.
boys didn't
Yeah,
either.
your boys
I'm
are a
very
class
fortunate.
act.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
My daughter too. She even though she doesn't come around all that much, she's not
I
really
know-
in the music
yeah, I-
scene.
I haven't got to see her
Madison's
out,
really
but-
good. You know,
Yeah.
when you knew her when she was a baby.
right.
But
the moon.
Zimwen. Now she's
Yeah, 'cause, you know,
EMT now. So.
We went through. We were going through photos. You know, my dad passed away a while ago, so we got all the his photos and everything. And there's photos of like when we used to go to the A's game. We'd take the whole family.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know, there was that time when 2 or 3 years where we were just Gannon was kicking ass.
Yeah, well, we were
Timmy
going to
was
Raider
on
games.
there.
We were
all
in Castle right down
Yeah.
the street from you guys.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it was all
Yeah.
about Raider games and
Right.
God, man, except for doing too many bad things.
you can only.
It was.
You can
It
only,
was a good time.
You can only learn from your mistakes. So
Unless
I
you
want to
die.
talk about. I want to talk about your first recording with John Cunaberti, and where did you guys do that at? And what was it like? Now it's not a demo anymore. Now you're
Right.
not in some guy's fucking basement.
But the thing is you're in a really great studio,
Where
right?
did you guys do that at? Fantasy?
No, it was in L.A. And
Oh, really?
I know it was
I
down the street from one on one or
I
whatever,
don't know.
which
They're
Metallica
prob-
was recording down there, and that was like, oh, we're in L.A. But you still record an album the same way you do when you're doing your demo. It's just a lot
I think
bigger.
the mentality is a little different for me.
Oh, it's
I
a
know
lot.
It's real.
Yeah.
This is not the dress rehearsal. This is fucking. This
Right.
Is the shit.
But at the same time, when you made demos, you knew that the demo was your make or break. You weren't going to get to do a record if you did a crappy demo.
Well, that's obviously.
So, I mean, you know, I always put as much into each one. And, you know, the first record was a 2-week budget. So it's like, look.
Sure.
You don't get to come back tomorrow and do the drums.
You gotta
no,
do
no,
it
you're doing
Once
all those
the drums
today.
are unhooked, that's it.
That's
There's
it.
no fixes.
You know, and the cool part, I had the drum doctor come down, was this cat in L.A., and I played on Rick Allen used this Ludwig Black Beauty that was on High and Dry or something. At least that's what I was told, right? So I was like, I want that. And he had a whole like van. And it's like, I want this and I want that. And that was the cool part. I have my drums, right? And which was the first Tama, it was a Tama drum set. I bought it at Doug's, right?
Of course.
He made me pay cash because you guys repossessed my drum
the
set.
last one. You know better. You learned. You learned, damn
But
it.
I remember
learned.
back in the day.
See that?
Snickers bars and Pepsis for 3 weeks to save up the money to buy that sucker cash. And so I had my drums anyway. And but the cymbals and everything this guy had, I'm just like, I want that, I want that, I want this, I want that. And I was like, that was cool. And Rick Allen played on that, like, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
I didn't even care what it sounded like,
Sure.
right? I just want to play on it. And so that was kind of cool. I think everybody probably had a little of that. You know, your first time is magic, man.
Sure.
It is fucking magic.
I mean, for me, it was Pleasures of the Flesh. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm going in and I know these guys had already just done a monumental album and it's my turn to go in the studio
now,
and do this.
Let's
for the
switch this
big
around,
boys.
all right? Because I know you're interviewing me, but let's go back on that. So, I mean, a lot of people don't understand that timeline, especially for you. You know, you join Exodus, you leave Legacy, Chuck comes in. I mean, I don't think people really grasp how much you gave up to get that. I mean, the amount of stuff you had to give up to get into Exodus, which, you know, it wasn't money. It was your
Power.
life's work.
It was, yes, it was.
It wasn't power. It was your life's work. I mean, you know, your whole coming of age was Legacy.
Yes.
I mean, it was. And you walked away from that to be in Exodus, you know. And no matter what people say, you know, yay, no, yes, no, whatever, it takes a lot of balls. And I don't think people quite get that. You just got to have big balls and you just got to go with your dream. And I think, you know, a lot of us in Dublin, whether it's Phil, you, Chuck, myself, whatever, there was never nothing short of death that was going to stop or impede this journey.
No.
Not a fucking
thing. And I tell people that. They're like, they'll ask me, what was your, I go.
Look at that. My hair's standing up. Just think about that.
I was awesome. Never say die. I get knocked down. And even today, look at how many bands I've done, Perry.
Right.
Even when I wasn't in Exodus over, you know, like from 2004 to 14, Dublin Death Patrol, Tenet, Hatred.
Yeah.
I do so much.
Because I remember when you started Hatred.
I'm constantly hitting it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, here he goes in. And then we still have to talk about our venture. But to make your point, it's like, I'm hitting this and I'm going to do this and then point. So Legacy was an emulation of what Exodus was. Everybody wanted to be not necessarily Metallica. We want to be Exodus. You know what I mean? So here's me getting the opportunity to do that.
Let's just remind people that at that time, Metallica is this epic thing, right? But at that time, you would almost swear, maybe a couple years before you joined, but there was a time when Exodus was probably bigger than Metallica. Or really, really close. You know what I mean?
And I thought that band was going to be the one.
Right. So, I mean, people put that in perspective.
Well, I did too.
I mean, yeah,
it was very early at that time.
Right.
Exodus, when I joined Exodus, every show was sold out. There was not a show that was not anywhere we played.
And if you supported Exodus or you opened Exodus, you played in front of a sold-out crowd.
Yes.
It wasn't people trickling in. It was just
for the
boom.
first. And I'll say this until 90, and I remember the gig that wasn't Atlanta in a Masquerade in Atlanta. Up until 1990, every single Exorcist show that was ever played was packed to the rim with.
And
brim.
90s is when they abandoned.
Well, they found other subgenres to go at.
I think. Well, it's always like the way they dressed, in Seattle and all the grunge thing, and it's like. Okay, we've been doing that for 10 years. What's new about that?
Or the rhythm guitar, the rhythm tone anyway was very much crunch, and when you first hear sounds like Teen Spirit, the guitar's a metal guitar sounding, kind of to me. And it's like
I wasn't a big Nirvana fan.
I'm not a big any of that fan.
I mean, I love Dave Grohl and all his stuff, but I was never a big
musicians, but I'm a metalhead, and that's just where it's at. Now, I don't have any problem with it.
First time I heard Alice in Chains was awesome.
Okay, that's different.
That's different. The first time I heard Soundgarden on the first record, I thought they were complete noise. Yeah. I couldn't take it. By the second record, I was like, "Oh, wow." There's the magic,
I like all that
right?
stuff. I really
pretty
like
awesome.
It. Really like it. Not the biggest. I'm a metal guy. I listen to metal. Now, how much time between Eternal Nightmare and Oppressing the Masses was there? Not much time, right?
2 years, maybe.
Was it 2 years?
Yeah.
And so Oppressing the Masses were released in 90, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was released in 90.
90.
Yeah.
With a whole entourage of problems.
Yeah. Technical?
Yeah.
I mean, you could talk about
No, I mean...
Personal?
Everything legal you could imagine.
Tell me about the actual problems that are rising before Oppressing the Masses. Talk about that.
Well, during that time... There was a lot of things going on with the PMRC, right? As far as putting a label on your record and all that. I mean, I think we did some shows with Billy Milano, MOD, and actually had Tip Gore out there with all of her little women and all them marching around with their picket signs against, our music, and had a 4-letter word in it that they didn't like. Which probably just helped us sell more records.
It was definitely a double-edged sword.
Right.
It was stupid.
But the thing is that, they would always pick on, I guess part of our white privilege was the fact that we were always allowed to be picked on. It was okay to hate us because, you weren't going to get any feedback from it. Everybody was like, so.
Everybody's against you. Those guys sing about Satan. Who cares about them?
Which we didn't, but,
Some of us did.
Well, we talked about it. But
we did, a little bit.
Yeah.
We dabbled in it. We dabbled.
But, I mean, we weren't talking about hoes, bitches, killing people, shooting people. We weren't using the N-word in our lyrics, which was something that was really mind-blowing, is to be shelved by a record company that says, well, you used fuck in your lyrics, we can't put your album out, and then turn around and shelf you, and then turn around and sign like Two Life Crew. Right. And you're like, those lyrics are far more offensive than anything we could even suggest, but, they're like, okay, you guys are just full of shit.
Right.
And you get into that, but unfortunately... You've recorded a record, you've done this, you've done that, you've got obligations you can't get out of. I mean, you're pretty much just stuck.
So where did you worked with Alex this time then, right?
Yeah, on Oppressing, yeah.
On Oppressing. Where did you do it at?
Ithaca, in his studio.
So you did. You went up to Ithaca.
Yeah, it was awesome. And we had Wacko, Raven's drummer.
Yeah.
He was the engineer, awesome dude. Uh-huh. So I remember one day, he had a whole closet in the back of all his drums and rototoms and everything. And I remember one day, him and I just had all the drums out and playing everything. And I was like, wow. Never, as we were growing up, would I
right now you're starting to do shit like
that you couldn't even imagine.
Probably my hero, and I paid money to go see him.
I did at the Stone with his mask.
Now
remember?
I'm sitting, the hockey mask. Now I'm in a room with him. And
shooting the shit,
and he's playing a part, and I'm playing a part.
Yeah, and we're just talking drums.
You know what? To this day, Perry, I still tell myself that because I've played with every single one of my heroes for the most part. There's very few bands that I have not played with. Doing what I do, and And
it's wild.
It's that is the thing that always captured me is how
Right.
Being this kid from Dublin that came out, and now I'm doing shit where people are looking at me and that.
Or
light,
to have somebody that you've wanted to work with, or you've been watching their work, and have someone come up and go, "Oh, Barry, man, hey, I wanted to meet you." And you go, "Wow, well, how you doing, man?"
Word.
You know, and you're like, "That's a trip." You walk away just going, "Oh, that's just such a trip, man."
Okay, let me jump over to. I'm going to jump forward just to right now. Did you do a festival? Did you do a meet and greet at the festival?
Oh yeah.
And how over? Okay, now check it out. Is that another level of? I'm really great. They really like me.
Yeah, you got that Sally Fields moment, right? Yeah,
I mean,
they told us we had the biggest meet and greet
I bet
of the
you
festival,
did.
and they wanted to stop it because the other bands had to come in and stuff. And Sean and I and everybody else were like, "Well, let's go out and."
That's what I do.
And
that's exactly
the guys
what
were
I
like,
do.
"I wouldn't do it. Don't go out there." I'm like, everybody's cool. It's Europe. Everybody's cool in Europe. I mean,
well, no, you just tell. I've done that many times.
We
because
did.
You get a certain time, and I'll tell them, "Hey, I'm coming out there. Don't crowd me. Don't grab me.
Yeah.
I'll take a picture and sign every
Yeah.
last fucking thing you have." And I'll be out there sometimes for another hour and a half.
Yeah,
Barry.
we were out there for a couple hours.
Yes. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
You're there?
You know, at a certain point, you're like, "Wow, I can't believe someone even wants my autograph, let alone take a photo, right?" So it's cool. It's cool.
Great.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we didn't cure cancer. I'm not a scientist. I don't
But
really.
you got somebody
I just
who,
play
like,
drums.
Music is a
So-
heavy
Yeah.
a cure and a heavy drug for a lot of people that need it,
Right.
and it's gotten people. How many times have you heard? "Oh man, thank you, man, for your music." Because man, there was a time going through my life, and all I had was this song or this album or something. And thank you for. I've heard that millions of times with Exodus. So now we're. How long did you spend in Ithaca with Alex in between the times? And then when was the record released? Was it right away, or was there more bullshit?
There's more bullshit.
More bullshit.
Yeah, more bullshit. So, I mean, we had, I think we had 9 songs, and so they ended up pulling Torture Tactics off it because one of the lyrics was, "Hey, fuck, we got your daughter just down the hall. Hey, fucker, can you hear her call you daddy?" You know, which is an awesome line, right?
I love that line.
It's so awesome.
I used to have the shirt that violence on the back with the axe.
The Torture Tactics grinds. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
I had that.
that was the line that, they'd pressed.
That got you shelved, huh?
Well, the next record got shelved. Pressing didn't, but I mean that
Right.
was that's where it all started, right? And of course we're like, "No, you're not taking." And they come back and tell you, "Oh, we'll tell you exactly what we're gonna do. You signed already, so you just sit down, little man."
We own your ass. And if you want to go to somebody else, you can't because
Well, you can, but
We
you'll have
own
to
your
write
ass.
another record, right? You ain't going with this record,
Right.
And you're like, "Well, I just put my heart and soul into that." And
Yeah, and
you're-
we're gonna exploit it for every last penny we can get out of it.
But I mean, they have your heart and soul.
They do.
You
They
know,
do.
and,
you don't look at it like that. Really. You
Not
don't.
until you have
No.
to.
No, you don't.
And then you have to, and you're like, "Wow, that's," because they have no emotions in the game. It's all money, and
It's all money.
you're all emotion and no money.
Yeah. No, it is.
So, we got through that, and I think we did 20,000 pressing for the beginning as it started, and they garbaged those, just stopped and took a song off, and I think most of us were like, okay, at a certain point, it's like, all right, is that all? You just want to take one song off? Okay, fine. Take the song off. Let's get going here, man. And so they did that, and that got going. But by then, you've missed your summer date that you wanted to hit, right? Because your album didn't come out.
Right. Yes. And the timing
So
was everything
it
back
pushed,
then.
It fucked everything. It really did. And that was the first wheel to come off. And yeah.
Is that like looking at it like, Well, we were going, and then all of a sudden we're starting to go.
Well, yes and no. I mean, we did a headline tour, for a pressing. I'd come back from Exodus where we had a bus and we had 5-star hotels, and we were on TV.
Yes.
And everything we did was. I mean, you remember? I think it was Gary, you, Rick, and I. We were in Ithaca, New York, or somewhere out there in New York, and we were playing an arena, a pretty big place, or Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie,
We won't talk about anything other than what I bring up, okay? And
I don't even remember it.
Yeah, good.
Luckily.
What we talk about? Yeah. So anyway, we came off. There was a big line all the way down the side of the building, and our tour bus was there. So we came out of the tour bus and we went across the street to the McDonald's, and so we're eating and sitting down in the middle of the place, and it was like one or two guys come in, and they're like, "Hey, can you sign this?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then it was 10, and it was 20, and then like within 15 minutes, it had filled up to the point that we couldn't leave. Like, I couldn't go to the bathroom. I had to hold a piss for an hour and a half.
Hot.
And
I don't remember that.
No, because the manager had to come over, call the fucking fire department to get the people to empty the place out. And we were just kind of tripping, like, all right. We just kind of kept eating and signing some stuff and eating. I'm like, I got to go to the bathroom. You're looking at me laughing like, it sucks to be you.
I don't remember that.
And it took him a while to get that. And I remember that was, that's, I think probably that day my head, grew like an extra size. It was like, oh, well, huh.
So now you're going back to violence, and it's like, hey, see that? That's what you get.
Well, I really loved violence. It was everything I was about. Everything I was about. So I couldn't wait. And I would call Phil because I knew Phil would be at home like, you better not leave this band, fucker. And I would call Phil all the time. I'm like, dude, people know who we are, actually. People, I talk to a lot of people, and people have our albums, It's like way more than we thought, because the labels will always downplay everything you're about because they don't want to pay you.
They don't want to pay you.
Right? So you're like, you walk...
we were show up and
right.
you're going to sell that.
Right.
Sure.
And so sometimes you walk away just thinking you're a schmuck,
Exactly.
It's like, I'll take out the garbage on my way out.